being very strategic, we talked a lot about, what are we going to focus on with that campaign? And that's kind of where we landed. And I think that it really took off. It was well received because it was relatable.
Hey folks, welcome to the In Focus podcast, season number 2. We are here with episode number 8. I am so excited to have you guys join us again for this season. We have a great lineup of guests to talk about video strategy. For those of you who are joining for the first time, I am your host, Austin Black, with BackroadProductions, a full-service marketing agency that specializes in helping agriculture brands create marketing campaigns that their customers just simply cannot ignore. This podcast is a 7-episode season where we look at the 7 steps outlined in our video strategy workshop. And it's designed to help you create a video campaign that actually gets results, actually gets views, generates sales, and brings a return on your investment. Because the truth is, too many times, companies produce a video without any well-defined plan or any well-developed strategy. And therefore, it's just a waste of their time and money because the video does not perform and does not give them a return on their investment. I'm here to help you change that. So we're going to get into the meat and bones and the meat and potatoes of what makes your video actually succeed. And to kick off season number 2, I'm so excited to have a conversation with Samantha Riley of the Missouri Beef Industry Council. This episode, we're going to talk about step number 1, which is identifying your target audience. And it's such an important step, an important foundation for your campaign. And we're going to find out why, as Samantha talks about how the Beef Industry Council has very specific target audiences as well as some broad audiences because they know that their audience is going to filter out and affect different people. We talk about why it's important to know who your audience is, know what they want to see, what they want to hear, and how you can connect with them in a positive manner. So Samantha has some great insights, some great tips on what really makes your campaign effective by finding the right audience and communicating with them in a way that resonates and engages with them. So without further ado, folks, here's my interview with Samantha Riley. Hey, folks, we are here on the In Focus podcast, season number 2, episode number 1 of this season. And it's so exciting. I got a wonderful lineup this season for everybody. But to start it off, I have the wonderful Miss Samantha Riley with the Missouri Beef Industry Council. Samantha is the Director of Education and Outreach, and that is all that she told me. So I'm going to just turn it right over to Samantha and let her introduce herself and what she does at MBIC and say, Samantha, welcome to In Focus. Thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah. So yes, I am the Director of Education and Marketing for the Missouri Beef Industry Council. So I do a little bit of everything. I do some producer education and outreach, as well as a little bit of consumer. There's another position in the office that focuses more on the consumer side than I do, working with influencer groups. But I do all of our marketing. So traditional marketing, digital marketing, videos, social media content, press releases, magazine ads, you name it, I probably do it. So a little bit of everything. But yeah, I've been with the Beef Council about 1.5 years now. So still kind of new, but I've been around for a while now.
Awesome. So for anyone listening to this podcast that maybe isn't well versed in the beef industry or in the state associations, what does the Missouri Beef Industry Council do?
Okay, so our main job is to drive beef demand, and we do that through 3 different kind of pillars. So promotion, education, and research, and all of that is to drive beef demand. We do not do any kind of policy work or anything like that. So our main focus is the consumer. And like I kind of led into earlier, we work with influencer groups, and then we do also do some producer education, to inform producers what their checkout dollars are working towards, what events we're at, what programming and initiatives we're working on. So we definitely have some varying groups when it comes to our audience, and so they're all kind of unique in how we reach them, and we kind of take a different approach for each.
And that's why I'm so excited about this conversation today as we kick off this season number 2 with this first step of the video strategy workshop in identifying your target audience. I've been fortunate enough to grow up in the beef industry in Missouri and see everything that Beef Council does. And it always amazes me how well you guys diversify your audience, connect with your audience, target your audience, communicate to your audience. I mean, there seems to be a very well-defined system there as to how you promote beef for Missouri producers. So I'm very excited for this conversation today. With that in mind, with your diversity, start off and telling me how that has impacted the growth of MBIC and its role within the Missouri beef industry.
Yeah. So, like I said, our main focus is that consumer. So we're building trust with the consumer, almost kind of like brand loyalty. We're not selling anything to them, but we are providing them with resources and education and tools that they can use. So we work with influencer groups, and that gives us a lot of credibility within these consumer kind of circles, because we don't have to target so much in the rural areas, because that's kind of like, preaching to the choir a little
Right.
bit. Those are the people that are consuming beef on a regular basis. So we focus more on the urban areas in the state of Missouri. And so having these influencer groups to also help us spread that beef message is really important.
Yeah.
If we could be everywhere all the time, we would. But we're a small staff. We can't be everywhere all the time. So these influencer groups are very, very important in reaching that target audience. So we work with retail professionals, health professionals, dietitians, fitness individuals, bloggers, little bit of everybody. But the end result is to try to reach a very targeted demographic, and we focus on, when we're looking at the consumer, the millennial mom.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, she is making purchasing decisions, and she's what I would call kind of in that movable middle. So, a 60-year-old farmer or rancher, they're on this side, and I don't have to tell them about beef. They already know.
Right.
Or, so they're kind of, they're in that middle of, they do consume beef, but maybe not as often, or maybe, they want some cooking tips, or they
Mm-hmm.
want more information about production practices, that kind of thing. So the influencer groups, when we get to work with them, we get to share that information with them, and show them, pasture to plate, farm to fork, and then they can turn around and share that with their customers and their clients and the people that they work with. It's tremendous. Like it's incredibly important. Incredibly important.
So would you say that by targeting all those different, and it's a very diverse group. I mean, you have, like I said, you got 60, 70-year-old ranchers, and you've got, 30-year-old moms in the city, completely different lifestyle, completely different interest and everything else. Would you say that by incorporating all those different audiences, that you have helped build a brand for Missouri beef?
I would say so. Kind of, because we're providing these resources and we work with these different groups, I think it develops some loyalty. They trust us. They come to us when they're wanting more resources, when they're wanting to learn more about beef, when they're wanting to learn more about Missouri producers. So definitely, I think it does. I know it does seem very vast, and I know most businesses, they're a little more narrow. Um, but being able to reach so many different audiences has been so beneficial, because it's trying to find the right wording. We're getting in front of people that maybe we don't get to see face to face.
Yeah.
So these are, just a little bit of everybody. I mean, it's people that we're seeing at events, but then it's also people that, they're going in to see a dietitian and get
Mm-hmm.
advice on what they should, be consuming.
The
So
the
yeah,
secondhand promotion and education.
yes, yes.
Now, and I know you've only been there 18 months, so you may not quite know this, but has the audience diversified throughout the years, or has the industry council always kind of looked at these groups of people through its marketing?
So, like you said, I haven't been here, the entire time we've been here, but I can say just um, from being here as long as I have been, we've always kind of worked with influencer groups.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not as many as we are now. That's taken a while to kind of build those partnerships and relationships up, but um, I would say that that's kind of always been a focus,
Mm-hmm.
reaching kind of outside the box a little bit, not just say, well, if we can't get in front of the consumer, then we'll do something else.
Yeah.
This gives us another route to reach the consumer. So I would say maybe not always, but from what I know,
Mm-hmm.
it's been quite a journey to get to the point where we're at now, to build these partnerships and work this way.
So whenever you are designing campaigns and messaging and marketing for each of these different audiences, how does the content and the message and maybe even the way that you market to them, how does that change depending upon which audience you're looking at?
So I'll start with producers, because people are like, well, what in the world are you gonna tell producers? So producers are a little bit more traditional.
Mm-hmm.
We are reaching them through radio, newspapers, press releases, um, magazines, articles, that kind of thing. And we're telling them not about the beef story, the beef message, because they they already know. Um, we want to share with them, what the checkoff is doing, what we're doing within the state, what programs we're going to, how we're working with these influencer groups, and how we're reaching consumers. So it is a little bit different, and we do quite a few in-person meetings and that sort of thing too. So it is quite a bit different than working with the consumers and the influencers.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to consumers and influencers, especially because we're targeting that older millennial female, um, they're on social media.
Yeah.
They are very digital, and so that is our focus. Of course, we still try to reach them in some kind of traditional ways through radio and magazines and that kind of thing as well. But our biggest focus is through social media, so Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. We've even done a campaign on Vivo before. So we try to be kind of innovative, but if something works, we keep rolling with it.
Yeah,
You don't have
definitely.
to recreate the wheel. So we see that social media has done really well for us just since, I guess, since October 1, which is the start of our fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
We've reached 1.5 million people through social media. And a lot of that has not had any money behind it. It's just us posting on social media and sharing content with people. And, consumers, they love recipes. So sharing recipes with them and different cooking tips and making it relatable. So that's been also not only the very targeted demographic, but having very targeted content,
Yeah.
stuff that they're very interested in seeing, and getting them kind of interacting and commenting and sharing. And, if it's something like a campaign on YouTube, having that ad be a short enough video that it catches their eye and they'll watch the whole thing.
Right.
It's being very, very targeted and what the content is too, not
Sure.
just the demographic.
What about then your influencers? Are you doing a different type of messaging and marketing with those compared to your mom's, or you kind of bundle those into the same pocket?
Um, kind of. um, so we do direct a lot of our influencer groups to our website and to our social media, and different places like that. But then we're also trying to reach them through some email campaigns. Nothing too drastic, but kind of here or there.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to be like, oh my God, the Beef Council's sending me another email. But enough to keep providing them with resources,
Yeah.
kind of have continuing to have that touch point with them even after the event or the conference or whatever it was
Mm-hmm.
that we were at together, getting them new research articles or, new recipes, new cooking tips, whatever that can be beneficial to them and is relevant to the career as well. So what we send to a health professional is different than what we send to retailers.
Yeah.
Um, so
So in terms of video specifically, I know you guys have done various campaigns in the past. How do you kind of divide those videos as far as the kind of same question we had earlier of your content and your marketing and everything and how you're doing that, but specifically to videos, do you have um, a process of videos that you're using for producers or videos that you're using for your consumer audience? Walk me through that process when it pertains to your video specifically.
okay, so I'm going to use an example. So we did kind of a sustainability series last year. It focused on four women ranchers, farmers, ranchers,
Mm-hmm.
their mothers. They have kids at home. They're concerned with, what they're providing to their kids, what they're feeding their kids. The typical mom stuff. Trying to get them to gymnastics or football practice or whatever. So we kind of used that to reach the millennial mom
Mm-hmm.
because it's relatable for them. We don't. I mean, we have some content that is kind of directed towards producers, but like I said, our biggest focus when it comes to like our digital content is to focus on that consumer and the influencer.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of these videos that we use to reach the consumer, they're also being used for education as well. So they're kind of, I guess, kind of dual purpose. They're great for social media content, but then we're also using them to educate consumers and the influencer groups when we're with them face to face,
Yeah.
showing them that they're mom cattle producers out there that are concerned about the same things they're concerned about. They want to provide their kids with safe and wholesome and nutritious products the same way as the millennial mom that lives in St. Louis. So
Right.
um, being very strategic, we talked a lot about what are we going to focus on with that campaign, and that's kind of where we landed. And I think that it really took off. It was well received because it was relatable,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something, if we had a 60-year-old farmer or rancher, nothing wrong with that, but it wouldn't have resonated with those younger moms.
Yeah.
They would have thought, well, okay, like I see it, this is what they're doing on the farm, and
Mm-hmm.
the cattle look pretty over there, and um, but it meant more to them to see another mom talking about, yeah, I've got to, my daughter's in gymnastics and she's super active, and I've got to make sure that she's got the nutrients she needs to keep going every day.
Right.
So yeah, just focusing kind of your spokesperson that's going to be in your video, making sure that they connect with the audience, making sure it's the right person.
Mm-hmm.
That when that, for in our instance, the consumer sees it and they're like, oh, okay, she's kind of like me. I see that. I can see our connection there.
Right.
Kind of that emotional high.
So are you doing any market research to find out what people want to know, what you communicate to and what your messaging is? Or are you just kind of making a blanket, um, beef message that you're focusing who your subject is? Do you have some strategic thought behind what that content consists of?
Yes. So a little bit of both too. I mean, of course, kind of some blanket beef
Mm-hmm.
messaging statements too, but what kind of helped us to lean towards, focusing on a mom cattle producer, um, our our national office, we haven't really done it a whole lot in office, but here in Missouri, but our national office does a lot of research on consumer perceptions and what they're interested in, and they share that with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been really handy to be able to look at that and see, okay, like, they're concerned about, taste and where to purchase beef. If I buy ground beef, how can I cook it? Different things like that. So
Right.
that helped us to decide, what they're actually interested in. That is something when it comes to video, we're not going in blind. If we're doing something like quick, like a little cooking video or something, yeah, it's kind of a blanket message.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be a full campaign, um, we're gonna spend the time to look into it and see what they actually want to know.
Right.
Because we don't want to, put content out there that they're like, well, I already knew that.
Yeah.
I've heard that before. We want it to be something that piques their interest and gets them to sit down and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kind of another kind of building our brand kind of thing. They come to us because they see that in the videos, like, oh, that answered my question. This is
Yeah.
a good resource for me. Maybe I should come back here more often and ask more questions or reach out, because they're talking about the things that I want to know more about.
Sure, definitely. And that's a great point too. Whenever you create that target audience and present them with quality content, in a situation like yours, I mean, yours really is just brand awareness. I mean, you're not trying to drive sales. You're not trying to, pull in memberships. You're just creating brand loyalty, brand awareness, education, and marketing down that line. And I think that's something that any brand, any organization can take to heart. That if you produce quality content to the right person, then they see you as the valued source and the trusted expert in that field. And that doesn't mean that your campaign has to sell them. It doesn't mean it has to encourage them to come be part of you. You're just putting information out there to the right information to the right person, and they say, okay, I can trust them. I can go to them if I need help, and that in itself can move things much faster than any sales campaign you'll ever make.
Yeah.
If you create that strong following, strong loyalty to what you're doing. And this, we always think of videos as being marketing videos, being promotional videos, but a strong brand or strong marketing video that is all about just providing value, educating, providing a connection, that can really resonate and can really drive home your message and create a strong following for your brand.
Yes. And that's something too. The sustainability series that I talked about, we also went into that, like, not say, well, just whatever comes up, whatever you talk about today, that'll be great. We kind of, for different people, depending on, kind of what their focus was on their operation, we're like, okay, talk about that.
Yeah.
You don't have to talk about a million things. Talk about, one topic, and cover that topic really well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's incredibly important, to build that brand awareness and build that brand loyalty, instead of covering a lot of little things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of focusing on one thing and being really good at it, and making sure that it's a fully developed concept too.
Yeah, definitely. Hey folks, I want to take a quick minute and ask you, have you ever produced a video that just did not get results, did not work for whatever reason, and you're like, what is going on? Well, it happens more times than you think, and usually the reason is because there's not a well-defined strategy for that video. Too many companies think that just producing a video in and of itself is going to bring results, bring sales, drive awareness, and that's simply not true. Your video has to be targeted, specific, and have a purpose that is meaningful. Without that, no one's going to watch it, no one's going to engage with it, and you're going to end up wasting your time and money to produce it. So we want to help you avoid that in the future. We want to help you create a video that actually gets results. That's why we have our video strategy workshop. a 2-hour workshop where we sit down and create a customized roadmap and plan and strategy for your company, for your video campaign. For more information to see how it can work in your company, go to backroad-productions.com/workshops and see how the video strategy workshop can get your company on the right foot with your video marketing strategy. Now, back to my interview with Samantha Riley. So in terms of your influencer audience, walk me through just the different, areas or industries or careers that you target with that, and why you guys have picked those particular people.
Okay, so when it comes to like retail, so that would be like grocery stores. We've done some cooking classes with Hy-Vee. Right now, we have a really great partnership with Deerbergs in St. Louis. So Deerbergs is a grocery store, and they have kind of like Hy-Vee, if anybody has been to a Hy-Vee as well. They have trying to think in-house kitchens where people can come in and watch cooking demonstrations, and they call it the Deerberg School of Cooking. And so we've developed a really great partnership with them, and so that's kind of our focus on the retail side is working with them in ways that we can come in and do the cooking demos. If we can't do a cooking demo, maybe come in and, be by the meat case, answering questions, providing them with resources, that kind of thing. Our biggest thing, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed by now, providing resources. That is a big thing for us. Yeah. Whether, we're able to be there in person or not, we have a ton of content and a ton of resources that we can send to people. So that's kind of the common denominator in all of these is providing them with resources that are specific to that type of job or type of career. So retail, maybe back at the meat case, they're wanting some cut charts or things like that. So it does vary. When we're working with so like health professionals, we work with dietitians quite a bit, whether they are students who are about to become registered dietitians. We've done pasture plate tours with them before, and had some one-on-one conversations, that kind of thing. We've also worked with registered dietitians who are actually out in the field doing this every single day. So it's great to connect with the students because they're not quite out there yet, but maybe we can build a lifelong partnership with them, and also build some loyalty. And whenever they have a question about beef, they come to us. Definitely. Same thing with the registered dietitian as well. We haven't done pasture plate tours with them, but we do participate in their association's annual conference. So that's been really great, hosting some Q&As and discussion panels and different things in the past, being able to, once again, provide them with resources, provide them with those educational tools and different things that, once they're done and they're away from us, they can still share with the people that they work with. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it is. Do
you guys do any work with teachers or anybody in the education system?
Yes. So I actually, like I said, I'm Director of Education and Marketing. So I head up our Beef in the Classroom program. And that is actually a program for FACS teachers. So consumer science, in the high school setting. So these are teachers that are actually getting to cook with their students every day. And so I will come in if they want me to. If they're comfortable, I'm like, okay, you do your thing. But sometimes they ask me, hey, can you come in and help me? The teachers that have been doing it for a long time now, they're like, I'm good. Just send me more stuff whenever you get it. But some of our new teachers, I go in and, help them teach their high school age students about beef. And this ranges from rural school districts to urban school districts. we're all over the state with Beef in the Classroom. It's been a really great program, and I apologize that I don't know how long we've had a Beef in the Classroom program. I would tell you, but I have not been around that long.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also different than reaching the retail or health professionals, because you're trying to reach a younger audience
Yeah.
than we normally reach. So getting content that is specific to like a high school age student is different than a college student that's going to school to be a dietitian. So giving them, of course, recipes because they're cooking in
Mm-hmm.
class, but then also providing them with some educational tools as well, lesson plans. We've got some games, kind of like a grocery shopping game, picking out beef cuts, that kind of stuff. So it is a little bit different too.
Yeah.
So it's it all varies. I could go on for 3 more hours
Well, and
about
that's
all the different.
that's the great thing I think about what you guys do is you do have such a diversity, and you hit basically every person on the spectrum. I mean, you guys are dealing with producers, you're dealing with kids, you're dealing with dietitians and with retailers. I mean, you're hitting every spot of that consumer journey. I think that is so important, and especially for brands and organizations that have a wide ranging product or service. Obviously you guys aren't selling anything yourself, but you're promoting the beef product. For a company that is selling something out of their business, it can be a simple product, but they can have 3 and 4 and 5 different types of customers. And it really changes how you market, how you message, the purpose, the intent of that. Um, More than we even realize whenever we first think about it. I mean, you spent 20 minutes talking about just the diversity of the resources that you provide, and
Mhm.
it's one product.
Yeah, it's just
So
beef.
there is
It's
so
beef.
much opportunity there to connect with people on different levels, and I think that is why diversity but targeting is so important. And I kind of want to bounce that question back off of you then. Even though you're hitting a wide variety and really you're making the same message, generally speaking,
Mhm.
but you're talking about it differently, and uh, you're broadcasting it differently.
Yes,
So
yes.
why is that so important when you're basically talking about the same thing, but you're talking to different people? That separation, what makes that so important for you guys?
So it's so important because different groups have kind of different perceptions, different understandings. So a high school teacher in rural central Missouri probably knows more about beef than a teacher that's teaching a fax class in downtown St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
So even then, like within these groups that we work with, their understanding of the beef message and moving from production to nutrition to different cuts of beef. All of them have a different understanding, and so part of that is just getting to know these people that we're trying to reach.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not like a blanket, like, oh, one size fits all kind of thing. And so being able to really get to know these partners, and see what they know. And
Mm-hmm.
it changes year to year too. So, when we work with these dietetic groups that are from the universities here in the state, their understanding may be different than the group from the previous year.
Yeah.
So it's definitely even within the groups, we kind of have to switch it up sometimes, and
Sure.
sometimes we don't know until we send something out, and then they're like, okay, well, you sent me this and this kind of triggered this over here. Can you send me more information about that?
Mm-hmm.
I want to learn more about that. And so, it's definitely not a one size fits all. Even within the individual influencer groups,
Yeah.
it's kind of dictated about how long have we had a partnership? What have we shared with them before? Is this a new partnership? What can we share with them now? It all kind of depends, but there is strategy behind it. We're not just sending out the same email to every single contact we
Right.
have. It's definitely more about trying to get them the stuff that they want to know, get them the resources and the materials that they need, they want to share with people. So yeah, I hope that answers your question on that one.
Definitely. Yeah. That's awesome. I'm gonna throw you a little bit of a not a curveball, but I'm gonna drop one in your lap here. Whenever you think back over the different campaigns, the different audiences, and different messages you guys have done, what would you say has been your most successful campaign in terms of finding the right audience with that right message?
Ooh, that's a good one. Oh geez. Okay, I'm just gonna pick one. So like the sustainability series that I was
Mhm.
talking about earlier, like we've had some pretty good campaigns and things that I think have gone over really well. But the sustainability campaign that we did with the four moms, it resonated. Our intent was for it to resonate with consumers,
Mhm.
but it also resonated really well with producers, which was kind of unintended. It was great that it did.
Right.
It kind of it worked on both sides of the fence for us. It showed producers that we're making sure that consumers understand um, the production side of things, as well as the cooking and the eating side, the fun stuff.
Sure.
That producers are they're very sustainable now. They're very concerned with animal welfare, like letting consumers know those things. And I think it was kind of a feel good for producers as well,
Yeah.
knowing that's being shared, because I know sometimes that seems to slip through the cracks a little bit, and consumers don't always quite understand. So yeah, I think that would be the one. If I was gonna pick one, I think the sustainability videos that we did. Um, I don't know. I just think that they did really well. We had a lot of good feedback, and anytime we've taken them anywhere, if we're at a conference or whatever, and we show them, people are like, "Oh, oh!" It like pops on a
Yeah.
light bulb for people, and they're like, okay, well, I didn't know it was like that. Or
Right.
oh, I can relate to her because my kids also are in a ton of sports and do all kinds of things. Like
Mhm.
um, it makes it one of the things that kept coming up when we were doing those videos was we're just real people raising real food.
Yeah.
That's it just it's a good feel good message, and I think it was an easy way for consumers to learn the beef message, and pasture to plate, and it was easily digestible for them.
Definitely.
um, you know
Yeah, I
so
got to
yeah.
watch a couple of those, and of course, it doesn't resonate with me as much as it does another mom, but still, you do enjoy the genuine message that's in there, and whenever they talk about, you know, I remember one of them said something about she could go with the protein bar, but she'd rather have burger or steak on her plate. She felt better about that. That's real.
Yep.
That's honest, and I don't care if that comes from a ranch mom or a city mom. That is real, honest, genuine perspective.
Yep.
And so I understand what you're talking about, just where it's that relationship is developed whenever you get honest and transparent like that. And I'm excited to see how that campaign takes off in years to come. 'Cause I think you guys really did a good job on just presenting an overarching picture and image that's very relatable on several different levels.
Yes. And that was the whole purpose, to be very transparent and honest. And I think sometimes you don't need all the frills and the fluff. Just getting right to the point, like you said, where Heather said, we could eat a protein bar, but we'd rather have steak on the plate.
Yeah.
That is just a very honest, like, to the point. And I think that does, it resonates with everybody, because they're like, well, yeah, I kind of would too. So
Right.
yeah. And there's little bits and pieces through all of those videos like that are just very open and honest and
Mhm.
transparent, and this is what it is, and we're proud of the product we produce. And it's a good product, wherever you purchase it. It's something you can feel confident providing to your family.
Definitely.
And that I think that resonates with everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, as we wrap up here, I got one more question that I think is just going to be kind of the home run closure to this whole conversation. Whenever you are thinking about this whole concept of finding your target audience, or just defining what that target audience even is, what's the one thing that you think, whether it's a brand trying to sell stuff, or a nonprofit, or just organization like NBIC that is solely working for the consumer, what's the one thing that they should keep in mind when they are trying to define what their target audience is?
So I think probably the biggest thing, and I know this will sound weird, people are going to say, well, you target all kinds of people. Our main target is the older millennial mom. So it's narrow, but it's still kind of broad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so narrow that you're reaching like 1,000 people that fit that demographic. It's got to be still broad enough that you're reaching some of those outliers still too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be my biggest thing, is when you're trying to define your target market. It's good to be specific, and it's good to have an idea of who is needing your product or wanting your product, or you're filling some kind of void somewhere in some industry, where there's some kind of gap, and
Mm-hmm.
people need whatever you have, but you also don't want it so broad that you're reaching a bunch of people that don't really care, they don't need your product.
Yeah.
So being strategic and picking out an age range, where they live, rural, urban, both, just keeping it kind of broad, keeping it a little more narrow.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the biggest thing, is making sure that you're not limiting yourself, but you're also not marketing to people that they don't need your service or they don't need your product. You won't get the same ROI
Yeah.
as you if you're reaching people that are interested in what you have to sell. So it's kind of like us. I'm not sharing with producers about how cattle are raised, because they know that.
Right.
So that's, you don't fall in our target. So yeah, I think that would be my pick.
Yeah. Well, and you guys have, like, so you have your one customer, your one kind of client, your one audience there, but then you have ways of interacting with them, with different
Hmm.
people, because, and frankly, a producer could be an influencer for some people if they begin to have that farm to table relationship. So by helping producers understand how you're promoting beef, you're giving them resources to do that. You're reaching your millennial mom, that the one that's actually buying the product. You're reaching the influencer that's helping the millennial mom buy the product, and he probably is going out and buying beef too. We hope, right?
Oh, we hope. Fingers
So
crossed.
so I mean, yeah, even though you've got your super defined persona and in person there, you're stretching out and you're hitting these different people that all kind of filter and influence, and they all eat beef, so they're all a customer in one way or another. So I think
Yep.
that's a great point too, is you can have one kind of main person, but that doesn't mean you only have to have one main person.
Yes. So something I always think about it like is kind of some circles nesting in circles. So
Mm-hmm.
the smaller the circle, the more targeted. And then as you go out, you kind of radiate out from that target. You're still reaching other people, but it's getting more broad. So that's kind of, in my mind, that's kind of how I picture it. Because you're exactly right. Like having that one main targeted demographic, but then kind of almost like little sub
Mm-hmm.
targets, kind of radiating out from there. Kind of like a ripple effect too, I guess,
Yeah,
if you want to look at it that way, especially in our sense, because some of those that are kind of on the outside, they're still influencing our target demographic
definitely.
too. So, yeah.
Very good information, very good insight. I'm excited about our conversation here, and just even seeing too uh, how it's the exact same message. I mean, nothing changes about your message. It's just who you're talking to and how you're talking to them. And I think
Mhm.
we can learn a lot from that end point right there of, pick your one person and then pick who influences them, and you're going to reach everybody in that instance. So I think that's definitely a great point to follow.
Yeah.
Awesome, Samantha. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your insights, and appreciate you kicking off season number 2 for us. I think it was an exciting conversation, and I hope everyone learned a lot from here listening to it.
I hope so too. I hope so too. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Man, what a way to start season number 2. I knew this was going to be a great conversation with Samantha, and of course, she did not disappoint. It's always great to visit with other folks and find out how they are identifying their target audience and how they are connecting with them through effective video strategy. And as you learned, Samantha has very specific audiences, and she also knows that the audience can be very broad because they're going to interact with each other. But by defining those target audiences, they have been able to build that relationship and build that connection because they connect with the right people and the right type of content. For more information on the Missouri Beef Industry Council and some of the videos that they have produced in recent years, go to backroad-productions.com/podcast and find the show notes. And folks, if you enjoyed this episode, jump on and leave us a review. We would love to hear what you enjoyed about it, what we want to see different about it. But jump on there, leave a review for us. We really appreciate you listening and your insight and your feedback, and hope you'll stay tuned for the rest of season number 2.